And welcome, everyone, to our Tuesday night podcast. I'm John Mussone here with Venice Indian head football coach John Peacock. And, Coach, we're here. This is the destination week we've been looking for, which is the state championship game, 4S state championship against the Lakeland Dreadnoughts. And again, we have a bit of a history with Lakeland. Played them in our 2000 run to the state championship. Have played them in other times and forms and everything else.
I think my first Lakeland game, I was like 8 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, went to Lakeland, watched Manatee play Lakeland. Maybe I was 9, maybe 8 or 9. I think I was 8.
Okay.
But
they've been.
Bill Castle was still the coach,
and they were a powerhouse back then.
Yep.
Yeah. So they've been on a run that you would say unprecedented. They've never really been irrelevant at any point in time in the last maybe 35, 40 years.
Yeah, I mean he's the greatest coach to coach
in the state of Florida.
State of Florida.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it. I personally can't count private schools.
Yeah,
I think you got to prove yourself in a public school setting.
And again, even with that, I don't think it makes much difference. I think he's just been that good for that long.
He's phenomenal.
And again, we're saying about him being such a good coach. It's high praise and it's warranted. I mean, in the manner that the program. I mean, I know how you are. You like to seek out the best competition wherever you can, and I think they probably do the same thing. I would think there's something similar to that. So the fact that we play them quite often. Just the fact we play them in the spring,
every spring.
Yeah, just goes to show that the two teams, there's an equal amount of respect for the program, and I think it's high praise to you for that team wants to come down here or have us come up there to play them as far as their spring games are concerned, and then of course on occasion in the regular season as well.
41 years. I mean, if you're at one place for 41 years, that means you haven't been fired in 41 years.
Yeah.
So you have to be
that good.
Yeah.
Because again, you talk about it. I mean, he set the bar, but the expectations are high. He has to live up to his own reputation.
Well, I don't think you can fire Bill Castle.
No,
I think if you talk about firing Bill Castle, that you're probably going to get fired.
There's probably a lot of people in Lakeland that their heads would spin around 360 and they'd look at you funny if that was the case.
Yeah, you'd probably go in to fire him and you'd walk out fired.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
what was I thinking?
He'd be like, "What are we talking? You're fired." You know.
I'm gonna try to get myself fired. I'm gonna fire Bill Castle.
Yeah. The superintendent says, "You know what? I don't like Bill Castle. I'm gonna go fire him." And he walks out of the meeting and he's done. He's looking for a new job. Yeah.
Got my box in my backpack and I'm out of here.
Exactly.
Whatever's left in it.
Exactly.
So, but again, Venice versus Lakeland. I think in some ways this is sort of maybe in the last 10 years, probably the matchup of the two most predominantly successful public schools in the state. I mean, if we fall in the same classifications a lot of times, I know they bounced to 7A and we were 8A and da-da-da-da, but we're right around the same.
Well, you look at it, the truth of the matter, the last 10 years, I want to say we're one of the few suburban schools that have won a state championship.
There's only 3 teams that did it. We did it twice. Lakeland did it once, and I forget the other team. It's like a 3A school that may have done it as well.
Cocoa.
Could have been. I know, but I know that's the point that there hasn't been a lot of them in.
And I think
Venice
there's only
Lakeland
2 teams to beat
St. Thomas.
St. Thomas in the playoffs in the last 10 years.
Because we beat them in 17 and they beat them in 18.
Was it 18 right behind us?
Could have been 19 because
I want to say it was 19
because it was this junior year of the kid who's the running back that Bowman.
Yeah, Bowman.
So it was 18 or 19. He came out in 20. I'm not trying to recall.
I think it was. Either way, I think it was a year after. I think St. Thomas.
Yeah. They might have got one in between there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, the idea is we're just letting you guys know that this is a matchup that I think a lot of people are looking forward to. I know you follow things a little bit more as far as the pundits are concerned around the state, but I gotta think there's probably a little bit of a charge from the guys who are in the know as far as Florida high school football is concerned.
Yeah, we're I think it's a good matchup. We have to play well. I think if we play really well, it'll be a good game.
Yeah.
It should be a good game. You're talking about 2 teams that probably in the last 10 years are probably close to being the same success
Regional
level.
finals,
Yeah.
semifinals, state
And now
championships.
you can't. I don't think you can go back and say that the last 40 years, Venice is on the same level as Lakeland. I'd say the last 10 years, these two programs, Venice and Lakeland, are probably, right on level with each other.
Right. Right.
Which I'm proud as hell to say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just no small feat to say with that.
Not just for me, but for our staff and our team, because, like I said in the coaches show, I mean, Lakeland is kind of the bar in the state, and Coach Castle is definitely the bar in the state and in the country, not just the state.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he's close to 500 wins.
And you got national championships as well.
I don't know if I've seen 500 football games
probably
live.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've
That's
watched
a lot.
them, but I don't know if I've been to 500 football games live.
Right.
High
That's a
school
lot.
games since I've been, I mean, that is a lot. So he definitely, he's doing something right.
And historically, when we talk about how good this team is this year, and I heard mention that this might be, he feels like his best team or one of his best teams he's ever had. But I mean, in 2000, like they averaged like giving up 2 yards rushing a game, and they had all kinds of things they were doing.
I don't think it's better than the 05, 06 squad.
Hard that's what I was going to go to. It's hard to say that when you have that many kids that came through that program at that particular time. The Pouncey twins.
Right.
You had John Brown, who was probably at the high school level was unprecedentedly good.
Bad John Brown.
And he never made it very big in college, but he was ridiculous.
He was a stud.
Yeah, Chris Rainey, who was unbelievable, and then I can't remember the kid's name. It may have been Williams' his last name, but the other running back,
the fullback, was a star tailback at USF.
Well, but even remember what happened. He was getting recruited almost higher than Rainey was getting recruited for a while.
It was a bigger back, yeah.
Then you had obviously again talking about the Pounceys,
Ahmad Black.
They had a receiver. They had a couple. They had another kid who played defense as well, and that's just the top. That's just the guys that were 5 stars.
Right.
We're talking about the rest of the team. They were.
I want to say there was like nine kids that went to Florida.
Yes.
The receiver went to Florida. I forget his name.
Right, and he actually stuck around for a while. And there was I want to say there was one or two, but again, all of them they were just phenomenal.
The tight end went to LSU.
Right.
I forget his name.
So they've had guys that year. I mean, it's hard to say when you can do what they did, and then ironically they play St. Thomas 3 years in a row
and beat him
3 years in a row. And just like I said, in one of those things you look at and you say, there was no question that Lakeland was the best team in the country.
Yeah.
For that point.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody could really question.
They won 2 national championships.
And there was no Saint in front of their name, no academy afterwards.
I think
none of that stuff.
That was kind of before the era of these super teams.
They were the first.
I think but they were the first. But at the same time, they were Lakeland kids.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They just happened to be Lakeland kids. But then after the 3 years of them winning and beating St. Thomas, you saw St. Thomas morph into being a Catholic school that had 3 or 4 Division I kids on their team to having 30.
Right.
That's
then it was like, okay, if we're going to do this. And now again, right, you're right. Lakeland did it in a way that was sort of like you see it every year, where a team gets a good class. They have that one phenomenal year. They walk off with a state title, and then it's a rebuild or whatever you want to call it, a reboot in some way. They didn't do that. They came out as sophomores and won state championships.
Yeah,
and
then
killing it.
That I think looking back on high school football, that may have kickstarted the whole private school super team.
Right. It was. You're 100% right. I think that was definitely the catalyst to it, because what people saw was that, hey, we can't do this with if we're going to be continuously doing well, and we have this loophole we can work around, then we can do this, and let's go ahead and do it. And they're in a lot. And I would say this: go back even to that point. Not even say the state of Florida, nationally.
Yeah,
it kicked off at that point. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's national.
No, you had like De La Salle, who was very good and won over and over and over again, but they weren't. They didn't have 40 Division I guys on their team. And Lakeland actually went out to De La Salle and beat them.
Yeah.
And without one of those teams, it wasn't
Right.
a pouncy,
Right.
rainy team. It was after that. It was after the fact. So Lakeland's been good for a long time. They've played good competitions. We're going to have our hands full for sure. And one thing that I can say for certain is that there's so much familiarity with the two programs. I don't think either one of us, or I don't think our kids are going to be in awe.
No. I think you're right.
I think our kids are going to play hard. They're very confident. I think we're hitting our stride right now, sort of say. And like we talked about in the coach show, it's sad. When you're finally hitting your stride, you start with this this hut, this mud hut, and you're building this house, and all of a sudden you're just putting the final touches on. You're putting this nice chandelier on, and you got this mansion built, and now we got 3 more days, and they're going to tell us we got to knock it down.
Yeah, one party to go to in the whole thing.
You're going to have some people over, and we're knocking it down in 3 days. So that's sad as a coach. I mean, you put a lot of time and effort into one group, and then we got to start over here. You got to start over here.
Right. Again, so we're singing the praises for Lakeland, rightfully so. But I think all in all, I think we look at it and say, yeah, we are equals in some way.
Well, not according to Polkway. Polkway says they're going to blow us out. We don't stand a chance. I don't know.
Well,
he's got credentials. I don't. I'm just a coach. He's got the media credentials. So
you never know, right?
Right?
You never know any of those situations. And I always say this too: when these big games come about, obviously, it does help to have experience in it. It does have experience in it last year for us in particular, because the guys that are team leaders right now were contributors from last year's team. You've got on the defensive side of the ball, you got Elliott Washington, Damon Wilson. You've got Trenton Kintai. I can name a bunch of different guys. So I think they bring a little bit of that, that feel like, hey guys, we've been in this room before. We've been in this stadium before. We've been in this position.
Well, you know
before.
what I did? I did for our itinerary, is I went to my on my laptop. I went to the 2021 state championship folder, and I just printed the itinerary. Same hotel. I changed where we're eating dinner. The only reason because we went to dinner and we got stuck behind a train that was 36,000 miles long.
That was a long
like
bus
30-minute train stop.
That was a long
So
bus
we're not
ride.
going over the train tracks this time. The lights went out over there. Maybe we don't look as old or fat. Maybe it
Look
makes it
shadowy.
look
Yeah.
He's working to get the lights back on. They're saying that I look better without the light. Well, there it is.
You're back now. You're back right on. So.
All right. I guess it doesn't
3
matter.
seconds, it's fixed. I couldn't. I'd be a day and a half trying to figure out, but he just did. So, but yeah, go ahead. You were saying about
so I just printed the itinerary. Everything's the same. So I think that's good for us. One thing, we're going to be in the same meeting room. We're having the same breakfast. We have my favorite is eggs Benedict, and I had 9 eggs Benedict. When
I heard we get eggs Benedict, and I'm like, that's good. Got to stay the same.
It was $35 a head.
Yeah.
For breakfast, and.
You got your money's worth.
I don't know how much 9 eggs Benedict cost. I had some bacon too, but I don't know how much. I would say, you go to a place, you get eggs Benedict, you get 2 of them.
Right.
It's probably cost you $10.
So same. So you had 4. I said
I got
a little over. You had a little more than your money's worth.
Yeah, I got my money's worth. I think.
And so it is. It's right because now it's familiar. Kids have been there before, and I think everybody feels like again. There's that. I'll say this to you, like you mentioned this in the coach show as well. The experience we had, the teams we played this year early on, the Buchholz game might have been a different outcome without that experience and that other stuff.
I would say so.
And I think I'll say this too about the games with Buchholz. Great game, played awesome, but I think they hit a wall. And then once we made when Gator Wilder ran that touchdown in to go up 7 again, I think that was like one of those like, oh, okay. This is
right.
So this team isn't going to wither away. They're not going to fall into the pressure of this.
I think one thing that's been real impressive about this team this year is no matter what situation or what the score is or what it doesn't bother them. What I mean? They don't get too down or too up. in either situation. I don't think we were too up when it was 28-0, and I don't think we got too down when they came back and tied it 28-28. I think we're a pretty even keel team. I mean, even going back to like the Seminole game, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk to them about them. They get upset. But with a team we played and we were down 14-0.
Right.
We were pretty even keeled. There was no craziness on the sideline. I mean, everyone was just like, all right, we're down 14-0. Like,
you're right. You know what? They know what they look good when they have a bad player. They look annoyed. They don't look like upset. They look like them like, what are we doing? Like one of those person So they just kind of just they can shake it off, and they can kind of go and say, I know what I need to do, and then they go and do it, which is kind of interesting because sometimes people will be like, what do I do here? They know what to do.
It's been real. That's been probably the most impressive thing about this team, all year is it's the sideline and the competitive nature has been the same no matter what the situation. No matter you're down 14 or you're up 28. The sideline and the competitive nature has been the same, and the scoreboard doesn't affect them. And that's a good characteristic to have because sometimes, if you do have a team that affects and you go down 14-0, like in the
if you're doing this all day, that's not going to help you look at the scoreboard.
In the fashion that we did go for, and handed somebody 14 points, and they just go in the, put their head in the sand, then you probably ain't coming back.
No.
So. I think that says a lot about a team and a good team. And look at the 2017 team. You go, we're playing Braden River, and we're down 12 points or 10 points at half.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not looking real good.
Right.
And those guys continue to compete. We were down by 10 against St. Thomas at home in 17, and they came back.
And those guys, you talk to them now, that's what they talk about. We're not going to lose.
Yeah.
We just knew that we had to figure out what we had to do. It wasn't a situation where like, oh, okay, this is the one we're going to lose. That was not about it. They were not about it.
And then the 2021 team, they were just so good. It was like.
Yeah, that was last year's run through the playoffs. Was a very
through the season. I mean, they're just
phenomenal.
So dominant. Other than the game where we had 26 penalties and only ran 52 plays.
Yeah.
But I mean, just a dominant football team, and so each team's a little different. I don't know how. I can't tell you how we would have responded in 21 if we were down 14 because we
never had to.
Yeah, I mean,
it
was just
never
like
a situation.
We were the other side. It was just like game was over by halftime most of the time.
Yeah. All right. So a little bit about Lakeland. We'll kind of touch on it a little bit. Offensively, you had mentioned earlier in the coach's show. Quarterback is a playmaker, not your prototypical 6'3" pocket passer, but a playmaker. 3 good running backs, a 4-star receiver, another good receiver, and then of course a pretty good offensive line. I would say.
If you're going to Georgia to play wide receiver, are you really a 4-star?
No, because that's just that because one guy can jump an extra inch. He gets a 5-star.
I mean, if you're going to Georgia, you're one of the best players in the country.
Yeah.
So we're playing against one of the best receivers in the country, and then their other guy is I think his brother plays at Florida, right?
What's his name?
I just want to say it before. I'm not giving names, but he's a guy that has burners. Can run, but I think you're right. I think that one thing, the backs run hard. All 3 of them run hard. So they're not going to have any issues with any of them getting tired. The quarterback, in my opinion, like I said in the coach's show, is the big difference maker in offense. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks that Lakeland's had in the recent memory. He throws the ball well. He's athletic, can run the ball, can get you out of trouble. I think he is the biggest difference in Lakeland's success now. I think when Lakeland won it, I want to say they won it 19. So I think when Lakeland won it 19, they basically relied on handing the ball to Bowman. Who was a 5-star running back.
Just a guy couldn't get
But
stopped.
I think this year, I think they're more of a balanced team. They have one of the best receivers in the country that's going to Georgia, and then you have a quarterback that can get him the ball in multi fashions. Can play action, can drop back, can roll out.
In the spring, it was the first 3 plays were just a 2-step drop, and he hit him perfectly 3 times, and then the next time he threw it was a perfect slant going across the middle, and so there's he's got all the throws. There's no doubt about that.
So, I think he's the biggest difference into making their offense kind of go and operate.
Yeah, no doubt. And then defensively, you talked about basically what you told me earlier was that's the best secondary in the country.
Yeah, I mean,
might be the best, based on what they've got, just backing the main guys up.
Their defense is very, very, they're very, very solid everywhere. There's not really any weak areas. They have linebackers that are downhill players that are great tacklers. Their defensive line, they rotate about 7 guys in there. I think their best player on the defensive line is number 1, where they move around from, strong end to weak end to nose guard, and he plays a bunch of different spots. And then their secondary is just loaded with talent. I mean, they got the number 1 corner in the country, and McLean, and they got a bunch of 3 and 4 stars all around them. And they were really good in the secondary in the spring, and then I think they added 3 Division I guys over the summer. I don't know where the heck all of them play. I mean,
yeah.
You got 7 guys that are Division I DBs.
That's the
some of them should have came here.
Right
some of them look at the. Should look at the program and say, all right, well, he's a 5-star, he's a 4-star, he's a 4-star, he's a 3-star. I'm a 3-star. Like, maybe I should go to Venice. I mean, I'm only a 3-star.
Yeah.
I mean, what am I doing over here? So I don't know how they. That's something that a good coach can do. I mean, because you look at that and you say, all right, well, I got 6 DBs. The lowest one's a 3-star, and I got 3 3-stars, 2 4-stars, and a 5-star. And you got to manage those. You got to manage that.
Right.
What I mean? So
the only people doing that other than Lakeland this year is IMG.
You know what I mean? So that's there's a lot to be said about that. And people always like, well, I want all these good players. I want these. I would love to have 3 4-star receivers. Well, before you say that,
right.
You're gonna have to manage those 3 4-star receivers. That someone has 6 catches, someone has 1 catch.
They can't do it in college. The transfer portal has made that abundantly clear.
Yeah.
I only got 20 touches. I got to go get 50 somewhere, so I'm going to go play across the country.
No one thinks about that part of, well, who's going to be in charge of these guys and manage them?
The guy who won the Bolitnikoff Award in college last year played at Pitt.
He left.
He went to USC.
Yeah,
and what more could you want? They gave you the ball 150 times, and it still wasn't good enough.
Now, money.
Well, true. I understand that.
And this year had, 10 catches?
It didn't matter. He
knows?
just took it easy for a little while. Yeah.
All right, let's take our break. I think when we come back, we'll talk about. I think we're gonna do one more.
Yeah.
Podcast next week.
Yes.
All right. We'll talk about next week coming up, because I think I'm gonna hurt people's feelings next week. I'm
okay.
I'm just gonna be off the chain. It's Christmas break.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
Ready to do it.
Yeah.
I got you.
You got it. So. I just want to warn some people, like, don't turn on the podcast next week. Okay.
With that, I guess, tease for next week, we'll take our first break and be back here in a little bit with our second part of our podcast with Bogies. See you in a bit.
What does Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram and Venice High Football have in common?
The perfect team and the perfect lineup.
Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram will always go the extra yard so you can score big with the area's best selection and savings. So if you're looking for a championship vehicle lineup
and a dealership that tackles the competition,
visit Douglas Jeep Chrysler Dodge Ram in Venice.
And if you're looking for a championship football lineup, check out the Venice High Football team.
Who supports Venice High Football?
Douglas does!
And we're back here at Bogies for part 2 of our Tuesday night podcast. And before we get started on our conversation again, the sponsor spotlight tonight is Bogies. Right here, we're sitting here enjoying the ambiance and the food. Another good meal for us tonight as well. So thank you, Bogies.
Yep, had pizza tonight.
You did have pizza. You with the no sauce pizza.
I ate the whole thing.
I saw you do
You know why?
Because it's that time of the year.
Because I'm fat.
Because it's that time of the year. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but Coach Peacock gets a little heavier during the season, and Coach Shannon gets a little thinner during the season. Yeah. So I don't know how that works. How they both handle stress differently is big. You really see based on your food habits.
I'm going to start my diet on Tuesday, I think. I'm going to go ham on Monday and Sunday, and then Tuesday I'm going to just settle in and say, all right, we're going to start eating right.
And then about March, you guys start looking normal again. He gains the weight, you lose the weight.
I'm going to lose a little bit more this year than I have in the past, I think.
Give yourself
That's
a little bit.
That's my goal, yeah.
Give a little bit of a chance to kind of,
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, again, it's if it means that that you gain weight and we keep on doing well, I mean, so be it, right?
It is what it is. Yes.
It is what it is. It's like being in the NFL, and those guys are 295 pounds, and a year later they're 175,
right?
And they're CrossFit guys,
right? It's bulking season right now.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Gets a little cold, the sweatshirts come out, and there you go. So again, thank you to Bogies for helping get Coach fatter, and me enjoying everything else, and everything's good. So Bogies had a lot to do with that this year, and we appreciate all their help. So again, nothing real too great. We got our guys over here that are sort of keeping us on time and laughing at our jokes and everything else. Josh and Francis from Vibrant Aspect Media. It happens because they're here to help us get it done. We can just come here and stick these headsets on and we can talk.
They do a phenomenal job. The most impressive part is their live stream.
Oh, yeah,
Obviously I'm coaching and you're doing it, and we don't really get a chance to see a whole lot, but the parts that I do see are absolutely amazing as far as the product they're putting out there for our fans, our kids, our community. And it's one thing. I mean, I can't imagine having that access if I was a player in high school to be able to have every game I played basically on a TV format,
right?
And with announcers and play-by-play and having that for the rest of your life. I mean, that
archived.
Is awesome.
Could you imagine? I mean, there's no film from 1983 that's anywhere. It was on a reel, and it lays on a floor somewhere, and somebody said, "What's this?" And it could have been the greatest game ever at Venice High School, and you're like, "It's in the garbage can."
My dad went back in 1983. Tried to get Frank's or Bubba's old films.
Right.
So he got a projector, and he projected it on the wall.
And then videotaped it?
The wall in our living room, and he videotaped all the games that he could. But it was like black and white. I mean, look.
Totally. Yeah.
Was it black and white?
It was black and white. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it was black and white, and you hear the but I mean, at least he was able to dig that up somewhere. But and the neat thing now is also like our games are all on Huddle, which is up in the cloud.
Yeah, it's
so
and been there forever.
So our kids can have those for the rest of their lives as well.
Imagine you could make so they could have their own career highlight film forever.
Yeah.
And say like, hey son, you want to see what I did in 15, 20 years ago? Boom.
Right.
And you're like, oh, look at Dad making every tackle on the field, or whatever it may be.
I think you can even Google, you make your highlight film. I think you can just Google John Mussone Huddle, and it
comes up.
Yeah, you get it. So
that's amazing.
That's really cool. But my point is, watching theirs.
Yeah.
It's silly. That would be unbelievable.
It's silly, and the idea is that if somebody asked me, oh, where's can we watch the game? I told them, I said, but you know what? If you've watched the live stream, it's not going to be as good as that. It's not going to look as good as that. It's going to be close.
Right.
It's it's a legit TV outlet, but the stuff that's done, the graphics that are done, heck, we sit here in Bogies and eat dinner and watching that graphic's not as good as what we're doing right here in Venice in the high school level. So it's a phenomenal job, and we do appreciate all of it. Myself and Josh Grant, we're sort of like, sometimes we're sort of like, we're part of this. It's pretty cool, so it's a really cool deal. All right, back to the game on Saturday. Again, we talked a little bit about Lakeland then, but as far as our team is concerned, I'll go backwards from what we talked about earlier, but with the offensive side of the ball, talk about the improvement of the offense as the season went on. I'm going to start this time, though, about our two running backs with Gator Wilder and Alvin Johnson. two different styles, but probably just as effective. We've talked about the idea that their stats mimic each other. Usually it's like one more play that somebody made,
Right.
but otherwise it's 11
Very close,
carries,
yeah.
11 carries.
I think last week was the only week that it was kind of staggering. I think Gator had a
long
160, and Alvin kind of had an off night.
Right. And but I think that was because I think Gainesville had seen a lot of film on Alvin, and they were like super focused on him. And not Gators but for some reason or other, he seemed to have a little bit different something was going a little different. Yeah.
He ran had a phenomenal game. Ran extremely hard, breaking tackles. I mean, I always say it's when a kid carries the ball and he gets north and south, it's almost like every play he's like, oh, he's like coming out of it. And
right.
Just, if he's not breaking one, he's getting tripped up there right at the end. Our
running game last year, I remember there was a play, it was on film, but I watched it. It was our Vibrant Expert guys at a film where I knew the running game was really hitting its stride. MG, who was obviously a new person to football, maybe his third or fourth start, he pulled on a play. And he came out, and you couldn't see DJ behind him. And all of a sudden, MG just flattened some guy out of bounds, and here comes DJ. And I'm like, wow, that looked like the way it should look.
Right.
And I saw a few plays last week before last, where similarly, I saw it more from a live perspective, where all of a sudden you see, here comes the play, and you see it as it's developing. You're like, this is going to work. Like, you see it right away. And watching these running backs in particular, really knowing how to set up and follow their blocks very well as well. If you watch them, Alvin slashes off it a little bit different, but
right.
either way, they are both effective, and sometimes they do find the hole, and they're effective being patient running the balls
right.
a little too.
No,
So
they've done a great job, and I feel like they're kind of hitting their stride right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think they're kind of learning how to practice. They're practicing harder. So I think everything is. Like I said, everything's kind of where you want it.
How much do you think that they are having a friendly competition with each other during the year, or even during a game in so many ways? I mean, I'm not nobody's keeping stats, but they're like, hey, it's my turn. I'm going to get one this time.
Well, I think I don't even say there's competition with them. I think there's just a really genuine rooting for each other.
Good. That's good.
I really do. I've not seen, you bring that up, and I've never
noticed
not
it.
in one instance has there been anything that was other than genuine, like, love for one another and just rooting each other on.
Where I see it the most, when I see that, what you're talking about is when somebody scores. I mean, there is absolute joy.
Yeah.
When we score touchdowns.
It's genuine.
It is.
It's not fake. It's true, genuine. Like, they want each other to do well. Like, they do not. I mean, there's no.
And we're
like, oh, I wish I was in that play, or the offensive line blocks better for you.
Right.
I've not.
And when you really see it, like, in particular, is when you watch, like, downfield blocking, how everybody is hustling downfield to make a block. If it's not Keon or Kiki or Ryan or Finn, it's somebody down there, and you watch them. They want to make that last block. They want to finish. I see a lot of finished blocks downfield, and I think that's so cool because then if they finish that block and they see their guy going in the end zone, they can't be any happier.
Yeah.
I think there's actually a very strong recognition as to what that block meant from both sides.
Yeah.
The blocker and the guy who got the block done for him, I think they both recognize, like, hey, we scored that touchdown.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
that's a big deal. I mean, because sometimes maybe people don't recognize that in some cases, but I see it pops off the page for me. It stands out to me when I see how they take to each other when that kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, it really is genuine, and that's thank God it's not one thing. That's not something I have to worry about.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's really good.
That is one thing we always do address, and I always do talk to them about, before the season starts, and then later on when the season starts, I have another talk. But I always tell them, hey, listen, this has to be greater than you personally. This has to be us, and it can't be about your stats. It can't be about how many catches you have, or how many yards rushing you have, or how many yards passing you have.
Yeah.
You know, our goal is, and your goal as an individual should be to get that ball across the goal line.
Yeah, yeah.
Every time we touch it, and however that happens, you be part of it and know your role. And then, you know, later on in the year, you know, you get some people that maybe have expectations, and it's okay to have personal goals. I'm not saying
everybody has to.
I'm not saying to not have personal goals, because personal, you know, you have good personal play, it's going to help the unit overall. But you know, I think sometimes, you know, during the year you may have had these personal goals to start the season, and come to find out like you're nowhere close to it, or you know, your role on our team is maybe something different than what you expected. And we have that talk about, you know, knowing your role, and everyone's role is important, whether I'm talking about you're a scout team player, or you're a starting quarterback, or you're the backup scout team player. You know, everyone's role is important, and we talk about that on Fridays. Like, you know, be involved in the game, and you know your role in the game. If your role is, and you're the backup scout team, you know, defensive lineman, you're probably not playing tonight. You know, so know your role.
Right.
You know your role, and you know, and be happy with your role. And if you're not happy with your role, and you're not going to be part of this, you know, move on. We'll move on.
Right.
We'll find somebody else.
Right.
You
No
know what I
doubt.
mean?
No doubt
So,
about that.
And along those lines, yeah, next week I'm hurting people's feelings.
We're gonna this is a reminder.
Yeah.
Put that tag
So
on the screen.
I think we should. I think next week. What's this called? The John Mussone,
no, this
John Peacock and John Mussone podcast.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we should call it uncensored. You know, the uncensored version. You know, next week is uncensored. Yeah, because you know, I seem to always hurt people's feelings, and I don't mean to hurt their feelings.
Right.
Because I guess I say stuff and that I don't know I'm hurting people's feelings, but next week is the week before Christmas.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, uncensored.
Yeah, so it's going to happen.
Uncensored next week.
So next week it's going to be the
season's over. We're gonna wipe the slate clean after our podcast, but we got some things to say next week.
Gotcha.
We got some things to say.
Okay, everybody, be prepared. But with that, let me just finish up with the offense real quick. We didn't talk about our receivers last time. We talked about this too. Ryan Matulovic, obviously, came on the scene this year.
Great year.
Keon Sears really came on in the second half of the season, catching the ball.
Yes.
And Keon, I just
you got to
tell
count
everybody.
Finn.
Yeah, but I'm going to get there.
Okay,
We're going to get there.
Finn had the catch of the year.
Yeah. So then you have Keon, who, how tall is Keon? 5'7", 5'8",
5'6",
5'6",
5'7".
Okay, I think he thinks he's 6'3".
Oh, he plays.
He plays like he's 6'3".
Oh,
It's
and he acts
unbelievable.
Like he thinks he's 6'3", 220 pounds.
Because he hits people and bounces off them and hits them again. It's to me, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean,
He's an explosive player, and he's been explosive since he was 5'3" as a freshman. When you know, he's the smallest kid we have. He's working out with the varsity group as a freshman, and we have these boxes that are, you know, they're extremely high. They're higher than a normal box we built because we built them out of our old platforms, and the only person jumping on him is Keon. You know, he's 5'3".
First game I ever saw him play against Riverview, they had some guy, you know, it's like freshman team always has like a 7-foot tall kid playing corner, and he just jumped up. He was behind, just jumped, picked the ball up and caught it. I was like, what was that?
He's very, very explosive for sure. He's got the power. Well, you see it on when he's the flip guy.
Yeah.
You see it on that. He's like, how high is he in there when he's doing the flip?
Well, the one when they get still photos of him, his head is
Yeah.
higher, and he's upside down. His head is higher than everybody else's head. He's
Yeah.
above them. That's
It's
how high he is.
unbelievable.
So
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. And again, also
I did a flip at practice the other day.
how'd that
No, I'm
work
kidding,
out?
I can't do it, yeah.
That should be uncensored.
Yeah.
But then we talk about Finn Jones too. Obviously, his growth as a player, his receiving skills have improved, and obviously he's a big part of the running game too. So he's got a block.
Oh, huge part of the run game. And it's doing a great job catching the ball. I mean, you look back, Riverview first series, he catches a nice out route on the third play of the game, and then our last game against Buchholz, I mean, the catch of the year. That's the catch of the year. I mean, we're not here. We might not be here. We're punting the ball.
Right, it's a big
back
to
Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
You know, we're
run all over the place. Yeah.
And Johnny Manziel's probably going to score.
Yeah, that was a deflating play for them, and obviously a big play for us to keep the momentum going in that game. So no doubt. And then real quick, also offensive line. You've talked about it. They have made massive improvements as the year has gone on. Working as a unit.
I didn't mean Johnny Manziel. He plays. He's not Johnny. He's a great kid.
Same type of player.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't. It's not next week.
It's not next
week.
Yeah. Not yet.
But I have all the respect for that Chase Whittemore. Chase Whittemore.
Gosh.
Yeah. He's a great player, great kid, great competitor.
Right. No
doubt.
I don't. No doubt.
Yeah.
But O-line have been made big improvements. And then, of course, Brooks Bentley, his improvement as the year has gone on has been. And I'll use a sort of a play in the Lakeland spring game last year. Obviously, he's sort of new to things, and Keon's out there. And there was a play where you could see where the play was going to go, and Keon was going to flash to that spot. And I think Brooks had a trust that Keon was going to get there. And that game, he wasn't sure to make that throw yet. It was that one little hesitation where the timing was off. And then you go flash forward, and let's say we're in game, maybe first playoff game or whatever, same play, same situation, and there's not even an ounce of hesitation. He's like, that's where he's going to be, and he puts it on him. So that alone is from that. That's repetitions, obviously, and that's trusting yourself and the player. But it's also the growth and maturity and all the other things how you want to put it of him as a leader and a quarterback.
Yeah, Brooks is, like I said, he's had an unbelievable year. Checks all the boxes. I mean, just as a competitor, as a person in the locker room, as a teammate, how he approaches every day in practice. I can't even say the kids had a bad practice.
That's good.
You know what I mean? I can't even say the kids had a bad period, in practice. Like, he's just phenomenal in everything he does, and he's just been unbelievable to coach. I mean, just really. If you ever have, if you're ever able to coach a player like that, like a guy that's going to put the team on his back. I mean, I've coached a few. Brooks is not the first, but it's such a joy. It is such a joy to know what you're going to get day in and day out. Well, what's going to happen when the game's on the line?
Right.
There's no question how Brooks Bentley is going to respond when the game's on the line. When things get tough, there's no question. Same way Bryce Carpenter.
Right.
Same way Trey Burton. You
know
what I mean?
Right.
There's different. And there's not a whole lot of kids that can do that. There's not a whole lot of players in the NFL that can do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. There's only a few, and like he's one of them. And I keep telling these recruiters like, oh well, we got our guy. I was like, all right, well. When your ass is looking for a job in 3 years,
remember I told
conversation.
You. Yeah, remember you told you that. No doubt about it. And, of course, defensively, we talked about it as well. Defensive line is obviously the unit that stands out in regards to our defense. Just because, just reputationally, I would say more than anything. But they're going to be a big part of what our success, what they do. And then, of course, linebackers have really come into their own. They're the other unit that I saw that came, started in the spring and started in the fall and have become sort of just, solid's not even a fair estimate to say about them. They're not just solid. They're really good at what they do. They've all taken turns having good stat lines, but they all year consistently they've been where they need to be in the right spots. Their drops are good, their reads are good. They've done a really good job.
Yeah, Coach Shannon, Coach Wideline, Coach Hatler, Coach Heyer, and Coach Jones, our defensive staff. It's, we see this product on the field, and you see Damon Wilson and how he has the pass rush, and he's knocking people's hands down, and he's dipping his shoulder, and that stuff just doesn't happen. And the kid's been coached.
Right.
And Trenton Kintai, you see last week where he's come off the ball and he's leverage locking with his hands, and you see him cross face, and and all these things that a good defensive lineman does. I mean, those things don't just happen; they're coached.
Right.
And so they do a great job of getting these guys ready, and then the fact that those kids, those individuals, do a great job and getting themselves ready. Strong and tough and physical, and then
Sure.
put the coaching on top of it. You're going to be a great player, and it's kind of showing now. I talked about it in the coaches show where I feel like last week, I keep saying last week, but 2 weeks ago, Trenton, that was Trenton. He's back.
Yeah.
I know he's been back for a number of weeks, but coming off of ACL surgery and the first time playing the game and all that stuff, you're there, you're back, but you're not where you were. And against Buchholz,
you got to think Trenton's pretty hungry because he didn't play.
He didn't play a whole lot. Yeah.
Right? And so for him, I know that that was a tough situation to be in. So being healthy and getting his opportunity right now to kind of maybe get his big swing at it.
Great. He played great last week. I went 2-3 games like, man, you phenomenal.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Phenomenal game.
No doubt. And then, of course, with secondary, with Elliott Washington being back there on the one side, you've got Dalen Platt, who's really stepped up. And when you see him and stand next to him, that's a very tall, very athletic young man. He's a corner that you put another 25, 30 pounds on him, which obviously he's that guy.
No,
he's that guy.
He's guy that's going to be a Division I guy.
Yeah, he's that guy.
Yeah, he's going to be a Division I corner. Or a receiver. But there's you can find a 6'2" receiver any day of the week. You find a 6'2" corner.
Well, I remember one time Coach Burton said when we were playing St. Francis, I said, how good is St. Francis? He goes, when you got two guys that are 6'3" playing corner and they're both going to play in the SEC, you're really not going to throw the ball very well tonight. He's like, yeah. And I was like, gotcha. I'll check that one off for sure. That length is unbelievable. Probably the only player that's from the team that's injured is Sage Utsi, who is a starting safety. But Larry David. That's right. Larry David as well on the offensive side of the ball. But Jacavius Washington has done a nice job playing safety. So that's been a positive.
Jacavius has played lights out and done an unbelievable job for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
And he's made some plays of the year too. Block punt. He had the fumble recovery against Naples, caused fumble and fumble recovery against Naples. That sealed the win there. So he's made some huge plays. Right.
And then special teams wise, how Krill Kotov, if he can put that ball in the end zone on kickoffs.
It's a game changer.
I must say it 100 times in the live streams and saying that's just 80 yards. 80 yards. They got to go 80. Yep. And you say to yourself, what an advantage from that. And we've always talked in these particular kind of games, you're trying to eliminate those plays. They all got dudes that can run the ball back. We do too, right? And so when you see the ball kicked off and it's 3 yards short and it's going in Elliott's hands, don't you get a little feel like, oh,
yeah, no doubt. When Elliott catches, I'm like,
right, he could go.
Let's go.
And you get that same feeling, and for those guys the same way. And then of course the special teams as well.
Elliott has a national record though
for 3 touchdowns for that many yardage.
It's a national record.
I'd never seen it before, so I knew it had to be something special. We knew it was a Venice record. we had that one checked off.
It's tied with 6 people.
Still your name's on the list, right? Until somebody breathes it, you're the guy with them. So again, special teams will play a major part of what we do as well this week. We can't overlook that from the perspective that there's going to be plays where the special teams are going to have to do something and step up and make a play, because both teams. It's going to be. It's going to be a filling out process like every other game. So there's going to be a chance for this to happen or that to happen. So everybody kicks off. If you kick off when you get a touchdown or the start of half, so you're always going to do that. And then so everything else is sort of like I said. It's good to see that Krill's had the experience, and if the kickoff side of it, if he can get those balls in the end zone, what a positive.
And the last 2 weeks our punt team has really improved. It's unbelievable. Just the operation time. I'm talking about in practice, like the operation time, the snaps, the punts. they've been great. I don't want to punt. I don't like to punt.
Yeah, we know that you don't like to punt.
But if we do have to punt, the punt team's been doing. It's the best week we've had. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, that's why I said we're kind of all coming together at the right time, and hopefully we can have a good game against Lakeland.
So everybody, you got to remember, we need people. We want everybody down there. We were the most attended team last year, no doubt about it. We had that entire side full from I would say all the way up to the press box where Josh Grant and I were, but from end to end were fans for Venice, and it was unbelievable to see. I think even Apopka thought they were running their mouths in the parking lot a little bit, let's say, to our fans. Our fans were like, really? Best defense. They should feel good. But I think when they looked inside and saw that they had half the fans that we had, maybe less than that, that says a lot as to what Venice does. So do it again, Venice. Come on out. Be there. But you can buy your tickets in advance on Ticketmaster. Go to FHSAA 2022 tickets. Venice Lakeland, Saturday 1 p.m. Kickoff is 1:02 exactly. Coach, use what you told us earlier. 1:02 kickoff.
And we're the opposite side. I don't think it tells you what side they're on, but we're the visitor side.
Josh Grant. Josh.
So it's the east or west, I'm not sure.
Josh Grant. See if we can get Josh Grant over here real quick. Come here.
Yeah, Josh Grant.
I just want you to just tell me real quick again where they can hear our broadcast. You're Facebook.com/Venice Indian Football. So you can listen to myself and Josh Grant. That was Josh Grant giving me the information. You can listen to us do the game live. It's free, so you can listen to it free. And so you know that you'll get the home cooking version of what's going on during the game. I will groan about some penalties I'm not going to be convinced of. So I've been known to get a little bit pouty on the broadcast, but nonetheless, you'll get a good version of it. And we start our pregame at noon. So we're starting our pregame at noon. We might do some little things where we might get Coach on there for a question or two pregame. We might do some other things. We'll see how it goes. But an hour pregame, and we want everybody to let us know that you're watching where you can. We'll give some shout-outs during the game, and we'll hopefully.
Is this going to be an uncensored, or are you hurting people's feelings?
No. Here's the thing: we can be relatively uncensored, right? We're not. I mean, not from. We can't go out there and be. Well.
Oh.
I mean, but I'm fair.
No,
I'm the color analyst. It's up to Josh to be the
I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Are you gonna hurt people's feelings? I guess what I'm asking.
It's possible, I would imagine.
All right,
I
then
mean,
it's
you never know.
uncensored.
I mean, maybe I say something that the referee's wife doesn't like. You never know.
Then it's the uncensored.
Right, it's the uncensored version of it. Right, so it could be that's the case. But we're going to be.
This will be the last censored version of 2022.
This is it. As of Saturday, it's uncensored.
Yeah.
So it's raw. We're going raw on this for the whole thing. But
that's what we should call it. The Peacock Mussone podcast raw version. Yeah.
So again, if you come to the game, also you made mention that can be a little congested-y,
you want to get there early. There's traffic.
There were fans out there before we got to the stadium last year, which is not the worst thing. You go there and you can hang out. It's like a tailgate in some ways.
It's covered. You're not going to be in the sun or the weather.
As far as the stadium, but even in the parking lot, you can get out there, enjoy yourself, be there early, not to worry about the rush, and get in the stadium. And we'll obviously the kids love to see people in the stands when they're warming up, whenever they can get out there. So really, really need you guys to be out there. I know we've been in this situation. This is our fourth opportunity to be in a state championship, and each and every time we've really put out there and been out there for the kids and for the team. So want to see you guys out there as well. All right, Coach. Friday morning, the journey starts. Are we starting with some sort of a breakfast sandwich, or what are we starting with?
Yeah, I got Rick Michaels going to bring in some breakfast sandwiches for us. Thank you, Rick. And we're going to eat Obies on the bus ride there. And
so
just one thing that we're going to do is we're going to eat.
Fully carbed. Yeah, I'll probably gain 10 pounds on Friday.
We're going to eat, and we're going to eat some more. And then on Saturday morning, I'm going to show out. I'm going 10 eggs Benedict.
Okay, so somebody's got to tweet that out. If he gets the 10.
I could do 10 easy. I just felt bad last year because people were looking at me.
Well, for uncensored.
The kids were looking at me like, gosh, Coach Peacock's got 5 eggs Benedicts on his plate, and it's his third trip. whatever.
Well, I think you were. I think
Let me
on the-
enjoy myself.
I think on the third trip you were saying, "Come on, let's go. It's been 16 years.
$35 a head.
Let's
Just
go
eat.
get somebody's gonna
I
eat
know.
that stuff. No doubt. So with that, we'll be starting on Friday. All the festivities. Again, you can go watch us at Venice Elementary when we come out and high five and thank the kids there.
East Venice Avenue around 9:30. We want to go there to the corner or anywhere on
Right.
Venice Avenue on the way to 75. You want to come out and
Yeah.
cheer the team on. We'll be. We got to have a convoy of police.
Absolutely.
We got police cars. We got police helicopters going to be taking us out of town.
So we're good to go there, and everybody could show out for that as well. So all that stuff. It's a special time of the year, special time in the history of Venice football as well. So please be out there with us and enjoying everything leading up to the game and then during the game as well. So please do that. For Coach Peacock, the censored Coach Peacock this week, and for myself, John Mussone, thank you guys for joining us on the Tuesday Night Podcast. See you here next week. Have a good week. Go Indians.